Hello everyone and welcome. In this session, we walk through a practical approach to diagnosing solar field efficiency losses in a CSP plant. In real plant operations, performance losses can come from many different areas: instrumentation issues, optical degradation, thermal losses, tracking problems, HTF behavior, or even environmental effects like soiling and shading. The real challenge is not just identifying the issue, but identifying it quickly and systematically without wasting time troubleshooting the wrong area. That's exactly what this diagnostic flow is designed to help with. Instead of relying on guesswork, this framework guides operators and engineers through a structured troubleshooting sequence, starting from a performance drop and narrowing down step by step to the most probable root cause and the corresponding corrective action. The focus of this session is practical application. So rather than discussing only theory, we'll look at how this flow can actually be used during real plant conditions to support faster diagnostics, better decision making, and improved solar field performance. Let's begin by understanding how the overall diagnostic framework is organized. Everything in this framework starts from one trigger: solar field efficiency drop detected. Anytime the solar field performance deviates from expected values, this becomes the entry point for troubleshooting. From there, the diagnostic process branches into seven major investigation areas. Each branch focuses on a different part of the solar field system that could contribute to efficiency loss. The first area is sensor and measurement validation. Before diagnosing the plant itself, we first confirm that the data is trustworthy. Many apparent efficiency losses are actually caused by instrumentation or SCADA issues rather than real plant problems. Next are optical losses. Here we evaluate how effectively solar radiation is being reflected and absorbed. So this includes mirror condition, receiver condition, reflectivity, and optical alignment. Then we move into thermal losses. This focuses on unwanted heat losses from receivers, insulation headers, or operating conditions that reduce thermal efficiency. The next branch covers tracking errors. Even small deviations in solar tracking can significantly reduce field performance. So this section investigates tracking accuracy, encoders, control systems, and mechanical drive behavior. After that comes soiling. This evaluates the impact of dirt accumulation and contamination on mirror reflectivity across the field. Then we examine HTF issues. This includes flow behavior, viscosity changes, thermal degradation, pump performance, leakage, and temperature distribution anomalies. And finally, we look at shading and shadowing. This step investigates whether incoming solar radiation is being blocked by field geometry, external obstructions, or control related issues like backtracking. One important aspect is of this framework is its consistency. Each section follows the same logic. We start with a diagnostic question, identify the likely cause, and then move directly into corrective action. So this creates a structured troubleshooting path that helps operators narrow down problems efficiently instead of jumping down randomly between the possibilities. Now that the framework is clear, let's move into the first and most important step: validating the measurements. The first step in troubleshooting is always validating the measurements. Before making operational decisions or inspecting hardware, we need to confirm that the efficiency drop is actually real and not being caused by faulty instrumentation or data acquisition system errors. We begin by checking whether a sensor or measurement fault is suspected. One of the first areas to investigate is the DNA or irradiation measurements system. If irradiation readings appear abnormal or inconsistent, the issue may be related to the pyranometer or pyranometer system itself. In practice, this often comes down to relatively simple issues like dirty sensor domes, tracker misalignment, moisture contamination, or calibration drift. The corrective actions include cleaning the instruments, checking tracker alignment, replacing desiccants and cross-validating the readings against nearby meteorological stations or satellite irradiance data. If irradiance measurements appear normal, the next focus becomes history of temperature measurement. Temperature sensor drift is a common issue in CSP plants, especially with PT100s and thermocouples exposed to long-term thermal cycling. When these sensors drift, the plant may appear to lose efficiency even though thermal performance is actually stable. In those cases, the solution is usually recalibration or sensor replacement. Along with verification of transmitter wiring, shielding, and SCADA redundancy checks, the next step is flow verification. An inconsistent flow reading may indicate fouling inside electromagnetic or Coriolis flow meters, transmitter offset issues, or instrumentation problems. A good practice is to compare installed meter readings against portable ultrasonic verification measurements. If all primary instrumentation appears healthy, then the problem may originate from the SCADA or data acquisition system itself. That includes issues such as scaling errors, incorrect engineering unit conversions, unstable signal conditioning, or historian configuration problems. The key takeaway here is from this section is simple. Never troubleshoot the plant until you fully trust the measurements. Thermal losses. Thermal losses are often more complex because the problem is not always externally visible. We begin by checking whether measured thermal losses are above the acceptable operating threshold. One of the most critical failure mechanisms in parabolic trough systems is loss of vacuum integrity inside the HCE receiver. The vacuum layer is what minimizes conductive and convective heat losses. A visible white or gray barium getter band is usually a strong indicator of complete vacuum loss and exhauster getter capacity. When that occurs, the receiver should typically be replaced immediately while also inspecting nearby components such as expansion bellows and adjacent receivers. If the getter condition does not indicate complete vacuum failure, the issue may instead involve partial vacuum degradation. At this stage, residual gas analysis becomes very useful. High hydrogen concentration usually points toward hydrogen ingress and advanced degradation, while lower hydrogen levels may indicate mechanical air ingress through seals or fittings. So, if vacuum integrity is healthy, the next area to evaluate is insulation performance at joints and headers. So, localized insulation degradation can create unexpected thermal losses that gradually reduce overall field efficiency. Infrared thermography is particularly effective here because it quickly identifies hotspots and insulation failures across the field. Another common source of thermal inefficiency is operating the HTF above the intended design temperature. Higher temperatures can increase thermal re-radiation losses and may also accelerate HTF degradation. So corrective actions typically involve reviewing flow conditions, controllable performance, and thermal model assumptions. If the source still remains unclear after these checks, a more detailed loop-by-loop heat loss assessment is required. Techniques like sunrise heat loss testing and distributed temperature sensing are especially valuable for isolating problematic loops. Now that thermal diagnostics are complete, let's move into the tracking performance. Tracking accuracy is one of the most important contributors to solar field efficiency. Even relatively small tracking deviations can significantly reduce the amount of solar radiation concentrated onto the receiver. The first step is determining whether tracking errors are actually present. If the error appears systematic across an entire row or multiple loops, the problem is usually related to the control logic, time synchronization, or encoder calibration. One common cause is an incorrect solar position algorithm or clock reference. Even small timing errors can create noticeable pointing deviations throughout the day. So in these cases, recalibrating the solar position calculations and synchronizing SCADA time with GPS or NTP references usually resolves the issue. If the timing logic is incorrect, the next likely cause is encoder offset or incorrect 0 point calibration. This is why solar noon alignment testing is commonly used to verify tracking accuracy. Static and dynamic offset values should also be checked carefully within the control system. If the error is not systematic and instead appears random or isolated to individual collectors, the focus shifts toward mechanical or localized control problems. So, mechanical backlash or worn hydraulic components, actuator degradation, or bearing wear can all create unstable tracking behavior. So, these general issues generally require mechanical inspection, lubrication, and component replacement where necessary. Another possibility is faulty feedback, instrumentation or poorly tuned control loops. So position sensors, inclinometers, and resolver feedback systems should be verified. While PID tuning may be need adjustment to stabilize collector movement. So hydraulic pressure should also be checked because insufficient pressure often affects actuator responsiveness and tracking accuracy. If the tracking pattern does not follow a clear trend, environmental effects such as wind-induced oscillation may be contributing to the problem. So in those situations, correlating tracking errors with wind speed data becomes very important. So this completes the tracking diagnostics section. So now let's move into the soiling behavior. So soiling. Soiling is one of the most common causes of optical efficiency loss in CSP plants, especially in desert environments. So the first step is determining whether the soiling index is elevated. Once elevated soiling is confirmed, the next question is whether the contamination pattern is uniform across the field or concentrated in specific areas. So, uniform soiling usually indicates a field-wide cleaning schedule issue. If the cleaning interval has exceeded the acceptable threshold for the site conditions, mirror washing frequency needs to be adjusted. However, sometimes abnormal soiling occurs even when the cleaning schedule is technically within limits. In those situations, external environmental factors may be responsible. Examples include nearby construction activity, seasonal dust events, or strong winds or local pollution sources. So, this is also where anti soiling coating may become operationally beneficial. If the contamination is non-uniform and concentrated in specific rows or sectors, the root cause is often localized. So typical examples include boat droppings, nearby road rust, or cleaning robot malfunction, or water distribution problems during washing cycles. So targeted cleaning of heavily affected areas is usually more effective than immediate full field cleaning. If the soiling pattern still remains unclear, a systematic field reflectivity survey becomes necessary. Mobile reflectometers are particularly used because they allow operators to map contamination distribution and correlate it against wind direction, so terrain conditions and cleaning routes. Now that optical contamination has been covered, let's move into HTF related issues. HTF transfer fluid issues. So here HTF behavior has a different direct impact on both thermal performance and plant reliability. We begin by checking whether any HTF operating parameters appear abnormal. One of the first indicators is reduced flow rate relative to the design set point. If flow reduction is accompanied by unusually high viscosity, the issue may involve HTF freezing conditions or thermal degradation. Freeze-related problems are commonly associated with inadequate heat tracing performance, especially during low temperature conditions. Thermal degradation, on the other hand, is usually identified through HTF laboratory analysis and elevated total acid number values. When degradation becomes severe, purification or fluid replacement may be required. If viscosity is normal, the next focus becomes pump performance. Circulation pump degradation can result from impeller wear, seal damage, cavitation, or motor performance issues. Pump inspection and comparison against design pump curves are important here. If the pump is healthy, flow restriction may instead originate from the partially closed valves or localized blockages inside the HF circuit. Cold sections are particularly vulnerable because crystallized HF deposits may accumulate there over the time. If flow conditions appear acceptable, the next question becomes whether there is evidence of HF leakage. So leaks should always be isolated quickly because they affect both performance and safety. So pressure testing and inspection of flexible hoses, bellows, and flange connections are typically required. So if leakage is not present but temperature distribution still appears abnormal, so the issue may involve sensor drift, heat exchanger performance, or thermal storage operating behavior. One additional area that should never be overlooked is nitrogen blanketing. So improper nitrogen pressure can accelerate HTF oxidation and degradation over the time. And with that, we move into final diagnostic area shading and shadowing. So the final section of the diagnostic framework focuses on shading and shadowing effects. We begin by determining whether shading is actually suspected as a contributor to efficiency loss. One important distinction is whether the shading occurs during high solar angle periods. If shading appears even when the sun angle is favorable, the next issue often relates to field geometry or external kind of obstructions. Unexpected interrow shading may result from layout modifications, structural deviations, or incorrect stow behavior. So in these situations, drone surveys or LIDR based geometry verification can help identifying spacing or alignment deviations from the original design. If the field geometry is unchanged, the next possibility is external obstruction. So nearby structures, terrain changes, vegetation growth, or temporary construction activity can all introduce unexpected shading losses. So in those cases, horizon mapping and annual energy loss assessment become important for evaluating the operational impact. If shading is not occurring during high solar angles, the issue may instead involve IAM behavior or end loss deviations. Here the focus shifts toward performance, model validation, collector and conditions, and comparison between measured and predicted IMM performance. Another important operational check is the backtracking algorithm. So improperly configured or disabled backtracking can create unnecessary shading interaction between collector rows. So the controller parameter should always match the actual field geometry and collector dimensions. So with that, we complete the full solar field efficiency troubleshooting framework. The overall objective of this diagnostic flow is simple. Move systematically from symptom to root cause and root cause to corrective action in the most efficient way possible. Thank you.